Folks, it has been a hot minute since we have done a live event. Reason for that is that we've been traveling. Last week was airplane, and so we're back now to doing the drone live show. And I'm pretty excited today. We have a guest. I'm going to introduce him in a minute, and then we'll be able to start answering some of your questions. Today will be slightly different format. Usually, I try to answer as many questions as I can, as quickly as I can. But what we'll do is we'll simply pick some of the best answers and then some of the best questions and then answer them with our guest. And speaking of our guest, you've probably seen him before on YouTube. His name is Keith, and you might know him as Alien Drones, and he's going to be joining us here in a second. Ethan, is he ready? All right, let's bring him on board. So Keith, welcome to the live Q&A.
Hey, thank you very much. Good to be here. Good to see you, and appreciate you having me.
Awesome. Well, we met briefly at Oshkosh a couple weeks ago when you came to the booth and surprised us. That was a great
We
surprise. It
did.
was exciting to see you and your camera woman that was behind you and shooting a couple of things. I saw the video. You made a little short of coming to Oshkosh. So for those of you that don't know what Oshkosh is, make sure you go check out Keith's channel. He's got a recap video kind of showing what it is. As a third person to just go in there and look at airplane. How was the event overall? How would you rate it?
Oh, it was fantastic. It was such a big event. I think that was one of the biggest things is it was a much larger than I expected.
Yep.
And there were just planes every 10 seconds taking off into the air, and the amount of people was just overwhelming. And on a second note as well is coming and meeting you guys, meeting everybody in your booth there was fantastic. So it was really a pleasure for me and my VO, my cameraman, and my part-time Karen to come and meet you guys in your booth. It was a big pleasure for us too.
Part-time Karen. I remember seeing that video that you made of people chasing drone pilots and talking about this. Uh, tell us, for those that may not be familiar with the channel or that are familiar with the channel, tell us a little bit more how you get started with drones and what get you interested in them, what gave you the idea of starting the channel, and kind of what your channel is in general.
Of course. Yeah, it's really interesting. I think I started in drones maybe like a lot of people did, and I took a trip, and it just so happened to be I took a trip to visit some family in Arizona. They live outside of Gilbert, and I went and visited them for the first time. They were moving into a new house, and this one of my family members picked up a drone and pulled it out of the case, and I had never really seen one up close. And this was maybe 5 years ago or so, and he picked it up and started it up and flew around. I was totally just in awe. It was so cool to see. And then he could see the picture and he flew a mile away and around the town. And of course, I didn't know anything about visual line of sight, right? So, but he flew around and actually we were within the Phoenix airport kind of radius, which I didn't know at that time either. But I thought it was so cool.
Hmm.
So I immediately went home and did the research and started looking. And I would say within a week, once we got home, I ordered my first drone, which is a original Mavic Pro. And
Yep.
when I got it home, I took it out of the kit and it was on the weekend. I got it and it was like on a Friday. Saturday, I took it out of the box. I started looking through it and I wanted to get some more information, just study up a little bit how to use this. I was just petrified to crash it or something, right? Because at the time it
Hmm.
was like $1,500 for this kit and it was a lot. I never flew a drone before. So I picked up this drone and I thought, well, I'm going to learn something. So I started searching YouTube and I started searching for drones and how to fly drones. And then I realized that there were FAA regulations and the
Hmm.
Federal Aviation Administration was actually going to come at me if I started flying too high or in the wrong place. And it terrified me. So I took my drone and I packed it all back up and I did a return to DJI on that Sunday. I said, oh my, I had no idea. It scared the hell out of me. Well, after I thought about it on that Sunday, I decided not to return it. And I thought, I'm just going to try it. Nobody will know. I'm going to try it in my driveway, right? So I went out and I went up and down my driveway and I was sweating bullets. I was just sweating because the thing went up and it was floating and there was trees around. I was totally terrified how to fly this, but exhilarating. It was exhilarating at the same time. So I decided to keep it and kind of did a little more and got a little farther and a little farther. And then I decided I better start learning the rules because this FAA was involved. So as I started watching more and more videos and reading more on the FAA, I realized that so many YouTube channels out there and so much information was just full of crap.
Yep.
There is so much bad information. And I researched so many places and decided, every place I look, there's something different. There's a rule that's about flying at night, or there's a rule about registration, or how high you can fly, or where you can do it, or what it means. And there were so many differing opinions. And I'm just a personality that if I really want to know something, that I'll research it and do it myself. So I decided very early I wanted to get my 107 because I figured that was the way to really learn the rules and really learn about airspace and FAA regulations, all that kind of stuff. So I started studying for that. And once I decided I was going to study for it, it took me a ton of time. Just I didn't know what to study. I didn't know courses existed like the one at Pilot Institute. I didn't know. So I watched some videos on YouTube, and it took me about 3 months of just studying because I didn't know what to study. It was just
Yep.
and I thought it was hard. And I passed. I went and I took it, and I passed with a 92 on my first try, which I was very happy with.
Nice.
But it dawned on me once I did all this, and this was 3 or 4 months later, and I hadn't flown that much, that other people must have the same problem with differing regulations, conflicting YouTube videos, and old information on the internet, and who to talk to and what. So I thought, it makes sense to help myself. I'm going to learn this, and then I'm going to start doing some videos and put it out there for people who maybe don't know things or want to know some more things about it. And
Hmm.
I vowed that I was going to go to professionals and get the advice instead of just giving my opinion on it. I was going to try to get to the FAA or persons like you that are officials kind of in the industry, people in the know, and get good information and talk to them firsthand so that I could relay good, solid, first time information that's right to people who really love the industry, but really don't know what to do. So I know I took longer than expected, but that's kind of my whole path of where I started. So Alien Drones then started for me really starting rules and regulations just to kind of help myself learn. And then as I started learning more about that, I wanted to know more about all kinds of drones and photography because that was my background initially was I was a photographer. I do photography somewhat semi-professionally now and then, not as much as I should, but I do. And the drone was just a natural extension of
Yep.
taking the photography, into the air and a whole new perspective. So it was just an extension, and I wanted to be able to be kind of a resource. I wanted to learn for myself, but I wanted to be a resource that could be relied on for factual and true information. So that even if people didn't believe me, at least I did my research and hopefully it was able to offer some value. So once I started doing that with the regulations and stuff, it made more sense to try all kinds of different drones, try all kinds
Oh,
of
that's
different
awesome.
products, try different action cameras. So it grew into let's not only learn about the hobby, let's advance what I know and use more tools, different types of drones. What are the benefits? What can I do differently? So it kind of grew into more of that side, into more of the product side and the rule side, just to try to help everybody else. And I'm learning myself all the time as we go along as
Hmm.
well.
Yep. Yeah, getting people from different backgrounds to come on your show makes you learn all these things. And yeah, I like what you said earlier. You don't know what you don't know, which is something that I tell people all the time. You're not always sure what to study or what to do, but
That's right.
that's awesome. That's awesome. Let's welcome a few people that are you probably are familiar with some of them. I'm sure we have a lot of of people crossing from channel to channel. We have
Certainly.
Jonathan Jackson. Hey, Jonathan, always here. Bam, did Skydio focus on one drone and didn't make a sub 250-gram drone and make less expensive drones? This is in no. Somebody said it froze. Did we pause the? Is that what the problem was? Oh,
I'm still good.
okay. I can hear you, Keith. We're waiting. Is it back?
Good.
Okay, we're back. Yay. Okay. It sounds like we're back. If you see us, it might take a few minutes, but uh, let us know in the comments. Sometimes it happens. Technical issues. This is why we don't do a lot of lives. Bathroom break. frozen when you started saying names. Okay. I didn't call anybody's name. Mine is still frozen on here. Oh, no, maybe we're back.
I'm sorry, I have to highlight the comment that said,
But bye. Okay. Well, it sounds like we're back. Okay. Well, let's pick it up where we left off, which was Skydio. So, Keith, I'm sure you've been listening and heard about the news that Skydio is no longer going to be making drones for consumers. What are your thoughts on the sub 250 thing in Skydio, and why they didn't do it, and why they're not in the in that space anymore?
That's a shame because I do have the Skydio 2 Plus. I love the drone. I had really good luck talking with the company. I think they were a real player in the market. I mean, if you have a Skydio, I mean, this is a quality deal. It looks good. It flies great. They had some great technology with the following that was not anywhere else. The amount of eyes on this was fantastic. So I'm disappointed that Skydio decided to get out of the consumer market. I can only assume, and I have no firsthand information of this. I can only assume it just wasn't as profitable for them as going into the enterprise.
Yep.
But I don't know any more than that, other than it's a loss for the industry, because I think when you have this good competition like Skydio was, it was a good professional outfit. They had the great stuff with the beacon and the remote, all the different ways you could do it. I think the lack of competition is always worse for us consumers.
Yep.
I hope at some point they reconsider and come back into the market. But I guess it is what it is. We can't really change their mind. I suppose there's a lot of money in the enterprise, but time will tell, I guess.
Yeah, that's my guess. Is the enterprise is just more profitable, and the question is though, they build a reputation with the consumer drones, then decided to go into enterprise, and then use the consumer drones to kind of fund them and get them to where they are, and now dropping the consumers, which I think leaves a bad taste in the mouth of a lot of people. We talked about this on our Friday news update. I read all the comments on YouTube, and I know a lot of you mentioned that point, and the fact that now, Travis, as far as the sub 250, I'm not quite sure. I do think the sub 250 is the key to a lot of different companies, because a lot of countries have different rules with sub 250. I mean, we do to a certain extent in the US as well, and that's what people are looking for. So very interesting. I think maybe it was their plan all along. I don't know, like you said, I don't have any actual data on this, but maybe it was their plan all along to just start with consumers and to build up to go to the enterprise. But obviously now they're fully into the enterprise, and they're doing a lot of lobbying to get their brand into a lot of different states, and prevent other companies from getting into those states. So it's a little bit disappointing for sure. All right, let's see what other questions we have. And Vic says, "I'll just sit here and be quiet about Skydio." Yes. A big enterprise will always win out over consumers. Yeah, but you know what? You got to think about this too, though. Is the consumer market really is the enterprise market really that big when you look at the competition there? Because Autel is going full force into the enterprise world as well, spending a lot of money. They've got the Max that they just released. They have the Alpha that's on the way to being released. And of course, they have their Evo 2 that has been out there for a long time with a lot of different versions in that. Skydio is going to have to compete with that. Obviously, DJI has a ton of offerings in there. We've seen Parrot also go into the more into the enterprise world and the consumer world. So there's going to be, it feels like everybody's shifting, because the consumer world is hard to beat DJI, but now everybody's shifting into the same space, which I don't think has nearly as many people. Obviously, they have deeper pockets, but it'll be interesting. I think it'll be interesting to really see. What do you think about that, Keith?
Oh, I agree. And you mentioned something about that 250 market and the sub 250 market. The original question was about, and honestly, if I never flew another sub 250, I'd be just fine with that.
Yeah.
I find in the photography world that the sub 250 is nice for traveling,
Mm-hmm.
but beyond that, I'd rather just have a little bit bigger drone.
Yep.
It seems to give you just a little bit better battery. Typically, it gives you a little bit better quality. You can get bigger camera, bigger sensor size. it flies more stable when you're trying to do things just because of the weight and the power and things. So, that is too bad. It would have been interesting to see Skydio come up with it, but I think they're going to be sorry in the long run, because I agree. I don't think there's nearly as many
Mm-mm.
people in the enterprise market. I mean, they're going to sell a few here and there, and of course, they're aggressively going after trying to be one of the big ones in the U.S. and trying to prevent others, which is, a little sideways for them. But hey, you got to do what you got to do, I guess, when you're a company, if that works for you. But yeah, I think overall, I think that's probably a mistake. I think there's a lot of people who love to fly, and there are a lot of people who buy multiple drones. So, and hey, not to mention that hobbyists will crash more often, so you're going to buy more drones when you crash them.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think it's probably better. I think it's a mistake. I would love to see them in the consumer market. I'd love to see Autel too in the market. I love their products too.
Yep, I agree. More competition is better for all of us. It just pushes innovation and everything. I mean, that's not only with drones; it's everywhere. So let's hope that more people get into the consumer. I love my DJI drones, but I sure would love for them to not stop making new drones, because they're just selling to everyone already. So um, let's see. There was another question that I saw here. Somebody was asking a question about remote ID, which is obviously a hot topic at the moment. I know you've covered quite a bit of content on remote ID. What are
Oh
your
yeah.
thoughts? There's been some rumors that maybe possibly the FAA might delay the September 16 date. Do you think that's a good idea? Do you think that's a likely idea? What are your thoughts?
Honestly, I don't think it's going to happen. I think what the FAA will do is they will leave the date in place, but they will then delay the enforcement, kind of like they did with the initial date for the
Yep.
manufacturers. So I think that technically the date will still be the date, and they'll just say, well, you're still not in compliance, but we won't enforce it yet. I don't think they're going to do anything to change the rule or really delay it. I think they'll just won't enforce it for a little while until it kind of catches up. But if they do anything, and I'm not even convinced that they will, I think honestly, and in their defense, as much as I dislike remote ID, which is I think obvious from a lot of the videos that I've done for various reasons, uh, I think the FAA did give plenty of notice for it. If that's their intent to go forward with it, they did give a year before manufacturers and then another year for people before they have to comply. So, that's for their benefit. I think they probably did give enough notice that if people aren't catching up, they better get to it. But
Yep.
don't tell the FAA I said that.
Well, Vic, I've been talking with Vic for a while, because he was at in Baltimore at the FAA Expo recently, and there's been discussion about actually delaying. Like you said, they're not going to change the actual rule because they can't. That would have to go through Congress, but they might delay enforcement like they did with the manufacturers to a December date, hopefully. And so the decision is supposed to happen this week, hopefully this week. This is quoting the FAA, so we're kind of waiting patiently to see what they say. We've been doing a lot of testing. I know a lot of you people, a lot of you people, sounds like a Seinfeld quote. A lot of people have been asking, which module should I buy, and is my drone ready? So we are working on a massive video that will test pretty much all of the modules that are available out there. And I'll tell you the biggest thing right now, and the biggest reason why the FAA needs to delay remote ID right now, is because these modules are just not available. And we've been trying for a while. And we're talking directly to the manufacturer, and we say, hey, listen, we need something to test. And they're like, we just don't have it. It's back ordered. We just don't have any units available right now. So, and we're a month away, almost to the day, a month away today,
Mhm.
and they're just not available. So I just don't see technically how this is going, like realistically how this is going to happen by September 16. There's just no possible way that everybody will be able, when we can't even get our hands on it, to do testing, to do all this, knowing the people that are behind the supply chain. I just don't see it being ready in a month. So we'll see. In the meantime, don't buy anything. Quite frankly, do not buy anything right now. We're still going through the testing. It's not as easy as it sounds, actually, because we want to do a thorough test of all these modules. And boy, there's quite a bit. Now, you get your hands on the same one that we have right now, which was the Blue Mark, right? The BM. Um,
Yep.
What were your thoughts on the using the module and the ease of use, and tell us a little bit more about that device?
Yeah. So a few months ago, actually, I reached out to Bluemark. I was looking for modules and seeing what there was out there to test. So I reached out to a few different manufacturers, and a couple of them did reply, and Bluemark was one of them. And when I got the module to test it, it was kind of an unusual form factor. I wasn't the biggest fan of kind of this little L shaped on it.
Yep.
When I tried to put it on, I didn't like that. I didn't like that it was kind of that form factor. So I called the one of the main guys at Bluemark and talked to him a little bit about that, and we started a conversation. And it was interesting as I asked questions, mostly so I could try to get information for a video on remote ID and this module and how it worked and things like that. It was really interesting, our conversation. The guy's name was Roll that was talking about the module, and he is like a PhD in wireless communications and all this. He's done stuff for all the communication stuffs over in the Netherlands. I mean, he's a pretty intelligent guy, really nice to talk to. And as we were going through it, I was asking some questions about power and about signal and things like that. And he said, "Oh, you can make it more powerful if you do this, and you can add to the module to do this, and you can configure this, and it will go longer if you do this." I said, "No, I want it to be less." And it was kind of a odd conversation back and forth. I said, "I want to configure this so that it meets the remote ID rule, but it is the hardest to see that you can possibly do and still be legal." And as he said, "I don't understand. We're trying to get it more powerful and longer distances." And I said, "You don't understand your market, because most people don't want it longer distances. Make it available for those people that want to make it go 2 miles, and the people that don't, for the location of the pilot, like we all know. Let's make it the minimum that we can so it's harder." And then we started that conversation. He said, "That is a fantastic idea. I'm going to write some firmware. Let's get it out there." So I worked back and forth with him for about a month, getting firmware and such, so that we could kind of make it less visible to a casual observer out there, to try to, I don't want to say hide the location, because we're not, but
Mm-hmm.
while complying with the rule, make it less easy for somebody that casually, some Karen that wants to see a pilot's location, make it a little bit harder if we could. And it's a pretty sharp guy. He's got the rules. I mean, they did the FAA Declaration of Compliance. That's all approved, and the way they did it. So and I said, "Well, why can't we turn the power down?" And I get that question a lot on my channel. I'm sure you do too.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't just turn the power down, because there's compliance rules of a certain power level. So you can't do that. So when we went back and forth and finally got it to this point, I think he was surprised that we were asking for that. And I think having that ability to change it in the firmware. So if you want it to be longer, if you're running some enterprise things and you want it to be more visible for yourself or your crew, you can. But if you want to turn it down kind of the minimum but still comply, you can do that too. So I got to give them a lot of credit for being willing to work with some guy that called them up and said, "Hey, let's talk about remote ID in this module." So I think they've done a pretty good job at having different models too. Not only the main one, but then they have one for
Yep.
FPV that just excludes the battery. And then they have another one as well that excludes not only GPS, but the battery and everything, just as a circuit board. So I think they've got a nice offering there. Love to see it even cheaper. But
Yes.
it seems to be a pretty robust product. It seems to do a pretty good job for what I wanted to do anyway. And the company seems really decent. And I know I worked with the one company so that we could sell it, not we, but they could sell it in the US, because I said people don't want to go to the Netherlands to
Mm-hmm.
buy something for the US. So they actually came up with a US distributor as well. And I think I've sold them out 4 times now from our channel, I think pretty much alone, because the second we hit that video, they were sold out, and they catch up once in a while and they're gone right away. So so far, I think it's been good for them. But anyway, I think that's kind of my thoughts on the Bluemark.
Yeah, and it's like you said, the price is still the restricting factor at this stage for me. I think
Definitely.
it's about 3 times too expensive from where it needs to be, and I don't know that that's going to change. Unfortunately, I was hopeful a year ago that somebody would come up with a cheaper solution. We've seen cheaper solutions. The problem is that they're not ready to fly in a sense. They're going to need to add power. You're going to need to add a GPS module, if anything. So they are cheaper and lighter options for those that build their own drones, but for those that that want a ready to go solution, it's going to be over $100, and I just don't like that right now. I just don't think that's the right price point for people that are going to have a cheaper drone, and that's going to hurt compliance on top of everything else. So yep, really interesting. So, but for those that are asking, wait a little bit longer. Hopefully, we have an answer this week from the FAA as to whether or not they're going to delay compliance or enforcement. And then, as far as which one to pick, just please wait until there is a reputable source of information as to which one to pick from all the different ones that are available. But like Keith said, the GB one seems to be the Blue Mark seems to be a pretty good option right now, from what we've seen. Okay, what else do we have? A lot of discussion on remote ID in the comments, as always. There's somebody asking if the sub 250 are still exempt from remote ID. The answer is yes, only if you fly them recreationally. So if your sub 250 drone is being flown for under Part 107, then you do need to have remote ID on it. If you're flying it for recreational purposes, that you don't. So that's always something confusing. Think about it this way. If your drone needs to be registered, it needs to have remote ID. Yeah. Now, if you don't know the registration rules, that doesn't help you. But all right. Oh, okay. Next question. Somebody asking about RID scanners for the iPhone. Drone scanner seems to be on Android. We just had that conversation today with Jason and my team. We've been testing different apps. Unfortunately, I tell you what, iPhones right now, and I'm probably the only time ever that I'll say that, but iPhones suck at picking up remote ID. I'm a big iPhone. I'm a big Apple fan. I know I'm an Apple fanboy, but in this case, the iPhone is not good at picking up remote ID. We've actually only been able to pick one module so far out of the 8 that we have available using an iPhone. So just not a good option. I see everybody in the back is laughing because I said iPhone suck. So yeah, the iPhone is just not good. So the only one is Drone Tag makes an app. That's the only one that I've seen so far available that will be able to pick up a signal. And like I said, it's only been one module so far, made by the same manufacturer, but everything else we haven't been able to pick. Now on Android, there is the drone scanner. I think that's going to be probably the most popular one. We've been able so far to pick up signals from a pretty good distance. As a matter of fact, the limit of visual line of sight. So we're going to be doing more testing using our BV loss waiver to see how far we can pick. Keith, have you played with any app other than the 2 that I just mentioned?
Nope, that's the only 2, drone scanner and the other one, correct. Yep.
Drone Tag, yeah. And were you
Tag,
pretty successful? Because yeah, that video that you made, you were showing the Karen was picking up the signal from a distance, and yeah.
But now I do have, Android phone because Apple suck. But other than that, yes, I was able to pick up pretty good with the Android with those. It was really dependent upon if you had trees in the way or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of dependent. But I was able to pick them up pretty quickly. I think the remote is it Drone ID? I can't remember what, not Drone Scanner, the other one. Open Drone ID. I thought was better. I thought it was a little easier to pick up than mine. Than the other one. I think the Drone Tag one, I think was the drone scanner was maybe just a little bit harder to pick up, and maybe it didn't have quite the distance. But it could be operating system related too.
Yes. Yeah, that's going to be the difficulty as well with Android, is with all the different operating system. So we'll be putting several drones to several phones to the test as well when we do this. So yeah, this video is getting more and more involved every day that we look at it. So it's going to be fun. Somebody was asking here, I just saw another question. If you purchase a module once available, will it be transferable from drone to drone? And the answer is it depends. It depends if you're going to do it under recreational purposes or under Part 107. If you do it for recreational purposes, then yes, you will be able to pick up the module, put it on any of your drones because your registration number is the same for all your drones. If you fly under Part 107, technically you will have to have one module per drone, or you'll have to go into the FAA drone zone and change the registration each time to match the drone that you're going to be flying. Now, we mentioned this to the FAA a long time ago now, when the rules were first coming out, saying that this was going to be a nightmare. And I was told that it would be fairly easy and it shouldn't cost anything to be able to change that. from one drone to the next inside of the drone zone. So I haven't been able to see that option just yet. So this is something we're digging into. But yeah, that's a bit of a pain in the butt. Keith, how many drones do you have that you plan on putting modules on that you fly on a regular basis for Part 107?
Well, there's kind of I have some of the sub 250s that I do just kind of recreationally as well. But I have about 4 or 5 drones I probably will put modules on. But something you mentioned about changing that inside of the drone zone as well, and I actually had to contact the FAA on that because I tried to change it. One time I changed it and it was fine. And then I went in a little bit later and I decided I would try another module and flip it back and forth. And I couldn't get to it. And the people told me when I emailed them back and forth in the help center, they said that after 14 days it was locked and you couldn't change it again. So whether that's current or if that's true now, and this wasn't that long ago. I mean, this might have been a month ago that I was told that. So they said after 14 days it's locked and then you can't update it anymore. So you can't, once you put in that remote ID number, you can't get back to it to update it. So hopefully that goes away because I was disappointed. It's like, now what? I have it on here. I have to deregister it and then re-register it again with another one and then pay another registration fee and get all that. And I got to print out all new numbers and things like that. So it's
Nobody's
kind of I hope they fix that.
Yeah, no, you're not. Yeah. So there was also a question recently about whether or not you can edit your registration if you're recreational, and the answer is, last time I checked, and I was told by the FAA, is no. That was a limitation on their software that they were changing. So I think that's still the case because I saw that comments a couple of days ago. Somebody else, Vic said something interesting here. Re-registration fees will be waived until 12/31/2023 at the moment. That's interesting. Okay, that's cool. Good to hear, Vic. That's what I was told in Baltimore. So it looks like that's for all registrations, for re-registration fees. Okay, cool. Well, that's at least something. Is DJI updating firmware for remote ID? Yes, they are on a regular basis, but most of the drones now that have remote ID approved on the DOC website for the FAA have an updated firmware that works for remote ID. So I know they're working, supposedly the rumor is that they're working on all the drones now to get that approved and to get the firmware for it. I'll believe it when I see it. But at the moment, some of the older drones are not compatible. So let me see what else we have in here. Is remote ID built into the Mini 3 Pro and can it be turned off? I'm flying recreationally. No. That's one of the biggest complaints that we've been receiving from the Mavic 3. The problem with the Mini 3 Pro. The problem with the Mini 3 Pro is that the drone can actually be turned into a over 250 drone by changing the battery. And so on paper, it's technically an over 250 drone. I know if you change the battery, you can make it less than 250. But also because that drone can be over 250 and of course will need to have remote ID, then they just turn it on automatically. Now you might say, why not turn it off when you fly recreationally? I don't know how they would verify that, but at the moment, if you have a DJI Mini 3 Pro, it will always broadcast remote ID because it cannot be turned off by law. It's a bit of a flaw, but that's kind of how it is. Also, yeah, just like Vic read my mind, he said the DJI Air 3 isn't listed on the FAA Remote ID DOC page yet. That's correct, and we've been waiting for that. I'm sure it has all the software inside and everything to make it happen, but the FAA still has not approved it. So it could be that the paperwork is still getting approved, but at the moment, it's just not on there. So you're still good because it's not September 16 just yet, but I wonder how that's going to happen in the future. What are your thoughts on that, Keith? Because they send those drones to a lot of people early on, and then that drone may not be remote ID compliant when it comes out because they want to keep it secret and they can't submit it too early. I wonder how that's going to work.
You know, in addition to just the scenario that you mentioned, I do a testing on a lot of different drones because, again, I just love the industry and I love to see what everybody offers and just try different things. But there's a lot of manufacturers out there that just aren't supplying drones with remote ID. And remember, last year in this time frame was when the manufacturers had to comply. Yep. The only reason this date's coming up now in this September, of course, is because that's when we actually have to comply as the consumers. But manufacturers are supposed to make these compatible and remote broadcast ready when they actually sell them now. So it's interesting that they try to keep it secret and not do that, because I think technically that's kind of breaking the rule, really. I don't think they should be able to sell it. And I
Yep.
don't know what these other manufacturers are going to do as well, because there's quite a few that are just kind of, I think they're just kind of ignoring it and see. And I asked Kevin Morris from the FAA about that once. How are you going to police that when somebody just thumbs their nose at the FAA and says, we're going to sell it. What are you going to do about it? And he
Yep.
said, well, we're hoping for compliance, rather than trying to go and catch people. But I think that's going to be kind of an issue. And as it evolves, I imagine it'll get better. Maybe the FAA will have more of an outreach to different places, just like DJI, and say, well, okay, we're going to give you 2 weeks or something before you kind of comply if it's a new model. I don't know, but I think that's going to be a bigger issue than just DJI right now. There's quite a few out there. Some of the recreational competition is going to be answering those questions, I would think, to the FAA soon as well.
Yep. Well, you know what's going to happen is the same thing that had happened with the FCC, is that they're going to build up a case against one manufacturer, and then when they have enough, then they'll just go after them. But that's going to be very expensive by that time. So we've seen this with the FCC before, where they went after, who was the company they went after, that was selling these controllers that were not approved by the FCC, and then eventually issued that massive fine. And yeah, that's never good. So giving the middle finger to the FAA can only work for so long until something happens, and then the companies are going to be held liable. I would not want to be in those shoes. I can tell you that. Jason will remember. Yeah, Hobby King.
So,
There you go. I knew Jason was walking here to tell me what it was. But yeah, so I don't know. Not the game that I would play, quite frankly, at this stage as a drone manufacturer. But also, you have to somewhat put yourself in their shoes, because when that compliance requirement came on board, there was really no modules available to even put in their drones. I know now there is, so there's not really a big excuse at this stage. I know that Drone Tag has options that are small that can go directly into the drone, but at the time it wasn't. So yeah, this is this is going to be an interesting time next month, and up until December, I think, is going to be interesting to see how all these things turn out. Let's see, what else do we have? I just put the registration stickers on my Air 3. It's got Pilot Institute all over it. Awesome. You're welcome, Bob Casey, Ariel. Those are the registration stickers. For those of you that don't know, we do those for free. We've done over 20,000 of them now. And you can go to pilotinstitute.com/free and then get your registration stickers. We'll send 4 of them of different colors, and then you can put them in here. So that's pretty cool. All right. You cannot buy that drone with those batteries. You have to buy the Firmware bundle separately. I don't know what that was about, actually. Jonathan cut that in the middle of a conversation. All right. Oh, the Mini 3. Oh, yeah. I see what he's saying. Also, we found out that from the Mavic, the Air 3, damn, too many threes. The Air 3 testing that we've done with the pre-release drone that we had, it came with a beautiful additional charger and a fast charger on the side. And we assumed that it was part of the Flymore combo. And that's kind of what we mentioned in our review, because we got the drone from DJI a couple weeks early, and then turns out it's not. So you have to pay an extra 100 and something to get that extra fast charger and the box. And I think that's different. DJI didn't used to do that before. They used to include it in the Flymore. Yeah, there you go. Thank you, Ethan. This thing right here, which is really cool, because you can actually do charging from 2 mostly almost empty batteries into one and refill. So you can fill up using the leftover stuff from a battery into another one. That was pretty cool. That was a smart thing. And then, but yeah, that's only available at an extra cost, and we didn't know that. So I apologize if you thought that it was coming with it and it didn't. That's not something that we knew. All right. Did you get your hands on the Air 3 yet, Keith?
No, I didn't yet, and I'm going to, because honestly, I think that's probably one of the go-to drones right now. I mean, honestly, though the functions you mentioned with that battery, I mean, they were really thinking that is some really cool features on that drone. It really
Yep.
is, and I think they've learned from the Mavic 3 and some of the other multi-camera ones, which camera and which zoom are going to be the most useful. And that thing with that Flymore is about the same as what I paid for my Mavic Pro, like 5 years ago. So
Yep.
really, that's the right one. That will be probably the next one that I'll pick up.
It's incredible the technology they've packed into that drone, and quite frankly, all the threes, the Mini 3, the Air 3, and the Mavic 3. It's like you said, I got the like Hugh, the Pro, the initial one, and when you compare that technology to this now, it's just nuts, and it wasn't that long ago if you think about it. So, um, yeah, somebody says the Air 3 sensor is so small. It's actually not that small. It's a 0.77 or 0.78 inch, which is actually with the new technology not any worse than the 1 inch sensor on the Air 2S. So, original Dobos in the house. F words are going to be dropping. He says, good to see 51 drones.
Better looking than I remember. That's all I can say.
Oh boy, I know it's not. That's the joke. What was I gonna say? He kind of cut me off on a thought that I just had about. Oh yeah, we've been testing filters for this thing. The reason it's on my desk right now for the Mavic 3 Pro, we've been testing filters for the last 3 days. I've put, I think, just my time, about 12 hours of testing on these. We finally recorded the video today after doing, and it's 5 different sets of filters. And you would not believe how complex it is to actually build filters for this damn thing, because it's got 3 sensors. And some of the manufacturers get pretty crazy by putting different darkness on some of the filters, because the 7X is not as dark as the 3X and 1X. It was actually really interesting to do all this research and find that out. So a video coming up. I'm doing a plug for our own videos, but that one should be pretty interesting. All right. What else do we have? Here we go again. I got FAA approval to fly my Mavic Air 2 over the John Hancock Tower in Boston. If I launch and land from the sidewalk, are the owners within their right to tell me to stop? Good question, Ben. No, actually, as they cannot control the airspace, so they can control the property that they own. They can tell you not to take off and land from the property that you own, but that they own, but they cannot tell you to not fly in the airspace. So as long as you fly safely, follow all the FAA rules, then you are good to go. Now, I'm not saying that somebody's not going to come out and try to bully you out of it, but I'm just saying that it's your right to tell them that you're in the right, something like that. Do you get that quite a bit, Keith? I know you've had videos talking about this as well, about privacy and who owns the airspace.
Yeah, I answered multiple questions on that today, actually, on the channel, because that's one of the big ones. People, I answered one maybe an hour before I came on the show, and the person said, "I've got 38 acres and I'm going to fly in the middle of it. What can they do about it? It's my land. I don't have to follow any of these rules." And I had to explain that that's not the way that it works. At the FAA airspace, they control the airspace even though you control the land. It's kind of a weird thing. But that's one of the difficulties that I have. Honestly, to answer your question directly, I've had really good luck being out in the public, and I think, I think it kind of depends upon your demeanor a little bit. Of course, some people are just nuts, and they're going to come at you with a weapon or a gun or just some kind of hostile intent because that's the way they are. There are some people that are like that, but in general, usually I can diffuse most of those situations when people come up. It's a kind of a general interest, and I used to kind of hide a little bit. I would go around the corner and watch for people, and I felt like a deviant, trying to not be seen by people. And I've kind of went the other way because I've gotten a little more confident that when I fly, I put out orange cones. I wear this bright shirt with FAA on the back, and I have cameras, and I'm very quick when people walk up or I can see they're saying and say, you're just going to have to wait. I'll be happy to talk to you, but not right now. I'm flying a mission, and I'm FAA licensed pilot, and please, you're just going to have to kind of hold on, and I'll be happy to answer your questions later, or let me land and take that. So I think it kind of depends upon a little bit your response as well, and
Yes.
Having cones out and having all that done on a pad, and I have a visual observer a lot of times, and that's one good thing about having a VO is they can to some extent, you don't want to put your VO in danger either, but to some extent, they're able to see a lot more, be a lot more situationally aware than you can while
Yep.
you're flying because you're focused on what you're doing, of course. There was one situation where there was three guys that were cornering us, and I saw it kind of out of corner of my eye, but my VA said there's a problem, and they were coming from all directions. They were on phones talking, and they started coming towards us, and it could have turned out really bad had the VO not, the person you met. She said, "This is bad. We have to go now." And I landed, and we ran pretty much as fast as we could, and we were a touch faster. So I was able to grab all my stuff and run, and we had one way we could go to escape, and we did. But it does happen,
Damn,
and of
that's
course
scary.
that's one of the reasons. It's very scary. Most of the time, I've had really good luck. People are really decent. They're excited. They're interested, but it does happen. Hence
Yep.
my apprehension over the pilot location of remote ID. That just makes me nervous because it's happened to me. So.
Yep. Yeah, I agree with that. It scares me mostly for younger people that want to go fly and are going to be even more of a target. And yeah, that's definitely the scary part of that remote ID thing. And I don't think the FAA or I don't think those that came up with those rules, because I don't think it's the FAA, but thought about this or wanted to think about this, and that's a bummer. So hopefully we don't have to learn from blood, which is how a lot of the FAA rules are written. And unfortunately, I'm afraid that might become that. Somebody says open carry is a deterrent. Yes, it is, but not for a 14-year-old that's flying, unfortunately. So, yeah, it's not always the answer for the younger population. There was a question that I saw here. Where did it go? Yeah, somebody was talking about, how a lot of municipalities are trying to create new rules. Yeah, there it is. Many local municipalities and local authorities are adding rules, even though they cannot control airspace. Example, local park restrict takeoff and landing from their jurisdiction. So this is something that we talked about a couple of weeks ago in our news update. The FAA just published a new document, and I highly recommend that you go and find it. And if you can't find it, maybe somebody in my team actually can share the document and the link to it. But this document is extremely important because it talks about jurisdiction and what certain municipalities can do and cannot do. And there is contact information for the FAA for those that have questions. And the day that I sent that video out, I probably had 20 emails in the morning from people saying, hey, look, this is my local regulation. Are they allowed to do this? And actually with Vic, we've been able to talk to at least 4 or 5 of these and send them emails and tell them, listen, you can't do that. I even had another person, and for some reason his name escaped me now, but in Florida, he was able to go and talk to the local authority in the state, and they were able to change it. He sent me an email. And he was all excited. He said victory, and I won. And sure enough, he was able to get them to shut down some rules that basically went against what the FAA had said. So it works. It took him time. It took him the energy to go and do it, but you know what? It worked. So if you find these, we can help. Vic can help. I'm going to give a quick brief on the DSPA, plug to the DSPA, the Drone Service Providers Alliance, dspalliance.org. They are able to help and talk to different municipalities and state and bring some sense into them. Vic is really good at being polite. I actually asked him recently to write a template email for me so I can send, because I'm usually not as polite. I'm a bit more direct to the point, and it's not always taken as nicely, I think. But Vic is really good at doing this. So if you can support them, they can appreciate, they can use all the help that we can give them and help fight some of these local rules. So, all right. I saw another comment here. Actually, I saw Vic making a comment. Let me see what we have. I'm going to... Oh, somebody says... Star Performer said, I'm talking too softly. Yeah, I tend to do that sometimes. All right. Vic says, I'm going to walk back my date for free registration change. It may have been given wrong info. Okay. All right. Well, we'll wait for confirmation, Vic. It looks like you still have to pay to make changes. All right. What else do we have? We are getting 10 more minutes, folks. 10 more minutes. I know we have a lot of questions in here. I'm trying to get these questions that we can talk about with Keith, what else do you guys have? Two people. Oh, good question here with consent. Consent. Am I violating laws? Should I only limit my videos to people who give me consent? What do you think, Keith? You were a photographer, you said, and still a photographer.
Well, the thing with consent is you have to be careful if you make money with it. It's kind of like with drones, right? If you're going to take pictures of somebody's face and it's identifiable, and you make money from it, yes, you're going to need the consent. It's just what it
Yep.
is. You're going to have to sign the piece of paper, and you're going to have to get the consent. Or yes, they could sue you. I mean, you just can't go take a picture of somebody and sell it and make money off of their image. It's just not the way that it works. So yeah, you need the consent. Absolutely.
Yep, that's the key. I think, like you said, if they're identifiable and you're doing it for commercial purposes, then you
Yep.
do need that. If your drone is capable of flying 2 to 3 miles, how can you actually maintain visual line of sight to comply with this rule? I'm sure you see that question about 20 times a day. Keith, what do you think?
Yeah, you just can't. You just
Yep.
can't. There's all kinds of interesting people that do that, and they say, well, I can daisy chain my visual observers. I'll put one every quarter of a mile, and look, it's fine. We can talk on our cell phone. It doesn't work that way. You just
Yep.
can't. The only benefit that has that I always tell people is if it says that the manufacturer says it can fly up to 3 miles. The only thing that's telling me is that if I'm in an area with maybe a lot of trees and radio interference or what have you, maybe that interference won't knock out the communication while I'm still within my visual line of sight. So that's what you
Yep.
can hope to gain from that is hopefully it's powerful enough to do what you need it to do within visual line of sight, but you just can't fly outside of visual line of sight yet. Yeah, maybe Vic will tell us that's a new rule he heard when he was in Boston that they're going to allow beyond visual line of sight. We'll see. But so far I haven't heard that. But hopefully soon. Hopefully soon.
That's the holy grail. And I know
It
Vic
is.
has
It
been
is indeed.
working on that. We were in a panel. He invited me to one of the FAA panel to write to the FAA about this, and hopefully some of our recommendations will make it through. But we'll see. And Stephen Love was asking that question about 2 3 miles. It's a question we get all the time, but it's kind of I always look at it as, yes, your car can drive 120 miles an hour, but can you do it legally? No, you can't. So that's kind of the same thing. We have controllers that can go that far, but they don't always. It's not because we can do it legally. Here's one of the most important question of the evening, which is, how did Keith choose alien drones? Is he an alien himself?
Yeah, well, I can't confirm nor deny that. I would give away the secret if I did that. And it just so happens that I've always liked aliens for whatever reason. If you ever see my computer, you can see it sitting here. It's an Alienware computer, and I've just been kind of just one of those things that just kind of stuck. And I love the aliens, and I love drones, and it just made sense to put them together. So it was born from that.
So, what did you think of that hearing recently? Are they spilling out the beans on the secrets?
Oh, geez, I would love to see it, and I don't know. This probably isn't the forum to talk about what I think or don't think about it that subject, but I think there's a lot more out there than we know how to explain. And hearing some of these Air Force pilots and some of these people talk about it, it's a scary thing. It's a scary
Mm-hmm.
thing for sure.
Yep, I agree. Well, I always said, if we're here, there's probably a good fat chance that there's somebody else out there that is kind of similar to what we are, or at least intelligent in some way, form, or shape.
The way I always talk about it, when my wife always tells me, and she's kind of the opposite side of the scale that can't exist. And the way I always say it is, I'm an engineer by training and by history, so I always think about that stuff in more detail. And the way I look at it is we rotate around the sun, right? And we're one planet around this sun, and every star you see in the sky is a sun. So
Mm-hmm.
what are the possibility of all of those suns doesn't have one other planet rotating around it, and life evolved somehow like it did on this one? There's a lot of chances for that to happen. So
Yep.
the chances are, statistics says it's a possibility. So
Yep. At least a possibility. I agree with that. we'll leave it to that. If you don't agree, don't leave a comment.
Yeah, that's right. That's all. End of subject.
A good question here from Mr. Plain Talk, who asked the previous question as well. He said, explain the difference in flying at night, requirements recreationally versus Part 107. That's a great question. I actually got that question a lot recently when we were at Oshkosh. It's an area of confusion for sure. So let's put it this way. Flying at night let's put it this way. Everybody can fly at night in controlled and uncontrolled airspace, or in airspace that requires authorization and airspace that does not require authorization. Everybody must have a light on top of their drone that's visible from 3 statute miles. And you're going to say, where's that rule in Part 107? And that rule, that rule in Part 107 is pretty easy. Where is that rule in the recreational rules? And that rule is actually with the CBO, the community-based organizations. So if you look at the list of rules to fly recreationally, there's only like 8 of them. And one of these rules is to follow the community-based organization guidelines. And all the guidelines so far that we have seen, there's 4 of them that are approved. All of them have a mention of having a light on top of the drone. And so, yes, you would need a light. Yes, you can fly at night. Yes, you can fly in controlled airspace. Even as a recreational pilot, it is now possible. It wasn't possible like 2 to 3 months ago, maybe a little longer than that, but now it is. So yeah, everybody can pretty much do the same thing. The only thing that you cannot do as a recreational pilot is fly in a zero grid, which you could do as a Part 107 if you submitted the proper paperwork with the FAA, but you cannot do that as a recreational pilot. So I hope this clarifies the difference. Let me see. Okay, we have 3 more minutes, people. Let's do this. I tell you what, let's do a giveaway in the last 3 minutes, and then I'm gonna let you, Keith. Do you have a way to write in the chat? I think you do, right? Just so only you and I can see it, and Ethan. In Ecamm. Yeah, you should be able to do it in Ecamm, Keith. So I'm going to let you pick a number in there from 0 to 107, between 0 and 107. And then we're going to let people pick a number. And then the first one that guesses it, we will give them a little care package. We have lanyards, we have keychains, we have a bunch of stickers. Actually, here's one of the keychain. This is our following keychain. We also have one for Pilot Institute. And then we have stickers right here that we're going to send. And then we have a flashlight, a red Pilot Institute. Well, it's a blue Pilot Institute flashlight, but it flashes red. And we have, what else? Keychain, lanyards. They're really cool. So we'll send that to you. So I don't know what the number is. So Ethan... What does that mean? Go ahead. So Keith, put that number in the window in which you're logged in right now to talk to us. I think it's in. Yes. Okay, we got it. Okay, well, I don't know what the number is. I didn't think about this through. Yes, like it to me. I made this way more complicated. Okay, there you go. All right, so let's go back up and see if we have a winner. Oh yeah, I see a winner, I think. Damn, it took 2 answers. It took 2 answers to get the right number, and Ray Kelly is our winner. If you don't know Ray Kelly, Captain Ray Kelly, he has a YouTube channel. He does lives all the time. And yeah, number was 7. So Ray, we'll send you a bunch of goodies, and actually we'll send you extra so you can give them away on your channel as well. All right, we're going to do that one more time, and then we'll do a donation for Part 107 certificate. So I'm going to put here reset. And then tell them the email. Yeah, and Ray, you know my info. Just email me your address, and we'll go from here. Okay, so after the reset here, Keith, give us another number, and then we will wait until somebody picks it. Ethan, let me know when you have it. All right, I have a number. There you have it. All right. And start. And go ahead. The number is in. So, whoa, what just happened? Okay, not there, not yet. Damn, you guys are fast. Nope. Oh, it's going really fast. Nope. Whoa. Wait, how many people do we have watching? Holy crap. Oh, I think I see it right there. Stop. It looks like Tom Julio has it. Yep, there it is. Jason confirmed. All right, Tom, email us at email us at jason@pilotinstitute.com. And then we'll send you a goodie. We'll do one more. All right, people, stop putting stuff. Stop. Okay, hold on. I'm going to wait until it slows down. Oh, Jason. All right. Now, stop putting numbers. All right, we'll do one more, and this will be for a Part 107 course access, or if you already have your Part 107, you can give it to anybody else that you would like. So I'm going to put reset right here in the chat. Keith, give us one more number, and then you guys go.
All right, I have the number.
All right.
There you have the number.
All right. It's a good number. That's a winning number, I would say, for someone. Nope. Oh, I see it. It was right there. Yeah, Vasha Hunt. Congratulations, Part 107. If you already have it, just tell us who you would like the account to be created. Again, contact Jason at pilotinstitute.com. And Keith, tell us, how can people find you online?
Of course. As somebody mentioned, it's Alien Drones, and that's on the YouTube channel. Of course, we do have some information also on Instagram as well, but main by far is at Alien Drones on YouTube. And I think we've got a lot of good stuff there. So if you've not had a chance to stop by and visit, please do. I try to answer a lot of the questions, and I do contact Greg and the FAA a lot of times just to try to get good information. So glad to see you there. Let me know that you came from Greg's live stream here. That'd be great. Yeah, I'll see you there.
Awesome. Well, make sure you go subscribe. In the meantime, anything else you want to add? I think we're going to wrap it up. It's been an hour now, even though we lost a couple minutes early on.
Oh, it's been great. I'm glad. I do want to do one thing, just as I'm a photographer here. I don't want to give you lens envy, Greg, but here's my newest lens that I bought for my Sony now. So this is one of those things you can't put on a drone, but I wanted to kind of show it off a little bit because I've treated myself to this big bad boy. So
damn,
nice G Master lens. So yeah, so give a lot of people lens envy with this big thing. So
is that a 400?
That 200 to 600.
200 to 600.
G, 200 to 600, yes.
You can't see Ethan, but he's salivating back there.
I believe it. So when people say you're spying on me with a drone, that does a heck of a lot better job, I can tell you. I took it on vacation, and wow, it's really nice. So that's quite the treat.
Well, now we got to.
Well, I really appreciate. I want to see that exactly. I want to see that. But no, really, thank you very much for having me on as well. I do appreciate it. A lot of fun. It went a lot faster than I expected to. Kind of sad to see it go.
Yeah, it goes quickly. The 1 hour when you have so many questions, and yeah, it goes quickly. Well, folks, thank you for watching. Keith, thank you for joining us. That was awesome, and I'm sure we'll do more of those in the future. And then, as always, like, subscribe, leave your comments even after we're done. Although, don't guess the number that's passed if you're watching this after it went live. We have people every time doing that. And yeah, we'll see you guys next week. We'll do another one here on this channel next week and answering questions again, 4 o'clock Pacific and 7 o'clock Eastern every Monday, and we will see you then. Thanks, guys.